Welcome to today's episode of Sew Like a Pro. I'm so excited to have our speaker today. Rin Gumora is coming to us all the way from Australia, so that's exciting. She's author and creator of the blog Sew in Love. And Rin helps busy women slow down and rediscover their creativity through the joy of handmade. So I'm super excited for today's interview. I feel like everyone these days can kind of relate with that. There's a lot of busyness happening. Rin was also born in Japan, but as I mentioned, she lives in Australia now with her husband and her two daughters. So today we'll just jump right into the questions. I always like to start the interview by asking how you got started with sewing and what you love most about it.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So my earliest memory of sewing is probably around 8 years old. So my mum taught me how to do like a running stitch. And I remember using just embroidery thread, and a bit of felt fabric. So, really beginner, child-friendly stuff. And, since then I've always really loved doing all sorts of creative activities. So I've dabbled in all sorts of crafts over the years, but I always come back to sewing, even if it's after years of not doing it. And I think it's because I find sewing so meditative and relaxing, and I love the creativity of it too. And I've also been able to connect with so many people through my blog, through the love of sewing. So I'm really, really grateful for that. And I guess I've always had this, I've got an analytical academic background, and I love sort of the ability with sewing to make something three-dimensional. So you've got flat pieces of fabric and it becomes something else. And I just think that's really, really fun.
Yeah, that is super neat. That is something that that I always find so interesting when you have your pattern pieces, and then once they're stitched together, that three-dimensional shape that takes place is always so neat to see. So today our topic is about sustainable sewing, and I'm love this topic. I'm so excited to get your tips on it. And I just wanted to start by asking how you got into sustainable living and being interested in it.
Yeah, so I think it started with my deep concern for the environment. So I do composting. I eat mostly vegetarian. I drive an electric car. I have solar panels on my house. So it was just this natural extension of my own personal lifestyle to bring sustainability into sewing as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. There's definitely with the environment, I know for myself, there's so many things that you just don't think of on a daily basis unless you actually start to think, and then it just kind of snowballs. So could you share with us just a couple of tips how you've been able to implement more sustainability into your sewing?
Yeah, sure. So I think we're so lucky as sewers to be able to have the skill to make something with our own hands. So in doing something like that, you're already cutting down a lot of your carbon footprint. But some really practical tips I have is to just try to use every bit of fabric you can. So being able to make kids accessories and kids clothes are really, really handy because you just use so much less fabric than you would when you're making something for adults. And making handmade gifts instead of buying something that's mass-produced. It's always so nice to make something for someone anyway instead of buying. And you do have to plan a little bit in advance, especially during Christmas. I know a lot of crafters sort of start in October going, okay, I've got to start my Christmas craft making right now. But just things like that. So one suggestion I have that makes a great gift are little heat pillows. So you only need a little bit of fabric. So I've made one recently for my dad, and it's just, a square piece of fabric. You make a little, a square, stitch it up, and then you can fill it with popcorn kernels or rice or something, and then they can put it in the microwave with a mug of water, and it's just a really nice little heat pillow that you can make for people of all ages. And then also, last tip is don't be afraid to remake something. So, we've all made things and then we've been like, I'm not going to wear that. But, don't be afraid to dismantle it and make it into something else.
I love that tip. I love the idea of remaking streetwear, fast fashion, just to reuse it. And but I actually, that's the first time I've heard somebody mentioning remake your own makes, which is so true, that we've all definitely made things that weren't quite what we intended to make. Sometimes it's a wonderful surprise. Sometimes it's like, I need a little bit of space from that project.
Yeah.
And then I can kind of come back to it, and then re-envision it. Is a great idea. Yeah. So what about fabric shopping? Do you have any kind of tips around ways that you can make your fabric shopping more sustainable, or things that you can use?
Yeah, so the most sustainable fabric source is your local thrift store. I actually find it really exciting to run me through those big bins of fabric. You can find some really great retro stuff in there sometimes. So, take it on as a bit of an adventure, and maybe you can find something that everybody else isn't able to use. And then actually one of my greatest finds in a thrift store is about 2 meters, which is a bit over 2 yards of corduroy fabric, which I got for $1. And I made them into a pair of high-waisted pants using one of my sewing patterns. I'll actually show you because I'm really proud of them. But they're just, they look very like, they've got pockets, and you would never know that that's from a thrift store fabric. It was just like perfectly fine fabric that someone just decided to donate because they weren't going to use it anymore. So just saving those things from ending up in landfill feels really good, and it's great for the environment as well. And also you could try to opt for organic fabrics, which are more gentle on the environment. Linen and hemp are really great natural choices. And also I looked a bit more into sort of the production of fabric, and things like tencel and lyocell, which are man-made. They're a little bit more intense in terms of production, but they use less chemicals and processing than other fabrics. So they're great places to start too. But the greatest place to start really is like in your fabric stash, or somebody else. Maybe your mum got a whole heap of fabric, or at the thrift store, I think.
Yeah, everybody that sews definitely ends up with a fabric stash. That's kind of part of the game. So definitely dipping into your own fabric stash. I've also seen different kind of fabric shop and swap places. So I thought that was a really neat idea to kind of create some, a Facebook group, or at a market or something like that.
Yeah.
Get some fabric shop and swapping kind of going, because sometimes you lose interest in a fabric too, but it's always interesting to see what somebody else may have in their stash as well.
Yeah, for sure. And also just sheets, because you'll always find old sheets at a thrift store, or just even in your cupboard. And whether you use that just to practice on a sewing pattern, or what I have done is done some tie dyeing. So shibori, which is a Japanese way of dyeing using indigo dye, I've done that and made some really beautiful things out of it. So that could be like another hobby you could start alongside sewing, and they're really complementary to each other.
Yeah, for sure. Well, those are some great tips. Now, with your blog, I love also how you have such a focus on helping people to slow down and really take the time and appreciate making things with their hands. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I talk about self-care with sewing all the time on my blog. It's really one of my main focuses for what I do, and I think there are just so many benefits from taking time out to be creative, especially in this day and age where as adults we sort of forget the sense of fun and enjoyment out of just doing something for the sake of doing it, to be creative, not for the end result of making something. And I find sewing to be really energizing for me because I get to release my creativity. And a lot of my readers have told me that the sound of the sewing machine is really calming and meditative, and I totally agree with that. And I also have hundreds of women tell me how proud they feel when they manage to finish a sewing project. Because that can be I feel like such a massive task, especially if you've got lots of, work to do, you've got a family, you've got a busy social life, like actually finishing something, it can feel like it's like an enormous task. So that sense of pride and accomplishment you feel from finishing, or even just managing to find half an hour in your busy day to sit at your sewing machine, can be really beneficial. All these things, really, that creativity and that sense of pride and accomplishment all really add up, I think, to your self-care.
Totally, and I love that. That when you have that sense of accomplishment, it really is a sense of invigoration and can give you more energy again to go back to the rest of your life and the rest of your day. And that is also a very good point. It's so true in our society. We don't have a lot of creative outlets for adults. I think we are more aware of that for kids, for sure, and making sure that we, take time to take our kids to extracurriculars and have them doing creative things in the classroom and whatnot. But it's something that totally gets forgotten about as an adult, for sure.
Yeah.
So I just have another question here. I was kind of wondering, do you have any kind of special techniques that you maybe developed or tips around sewing, whether it has to do with any aspect of it?
So let's see. I think more than like a sewing tip, I have sort of a tip in terms of how you, like a mind shift in terms of sewing. So I want to tell everyone watching that you are not selfish for scheduling time in your day to make time to sew. You've got to give yourself that permission. No one else is going to give it for you. So give yourself permission to carve out some time to do what you love. Because as women, especially, we do so much for others. We do so much for our work, and we do so much for our friends and family, partners. So I just want to let you know, and it's a constant reminder to myself as well. I always have to, I'm still learning and I'm still on this journey, and that is, it's okay to slow down. Like, you do enough, you are enough. So you deserve to take a break and rediscover the fun and joy of sewing. So yeah, that's sort of my little tip, a little mind shift in terms of how you look at sewing. Instead of thinking of it as this hobby and something that you indulge in, think of it as a bit of self-care for yourself, because when you feel re-energized from being able to express your creativity, then I think you become a better person to everyone around you as well. So I find myself that I'm a more balanced and present mother, partner, friend, worker, like all these things, if I've been able to take a bit of that time for myself. So I think everyone benefits from it, not just you. So stop feeling guilty about it.
That is a really good point. I think it is something definitely that a lot of people struggle with. I know I struggle with that personally, feeling guilty about it. But when you can look at it in that light, in that mind shift of, you are then making yourself the better person, and being able to be more present and more energized and all of that with your family, then it's really great, because it's a win-win then for everybody.
Yes.
So I do have to ask too, do you kind of have a favorite pattern or a favorite project that you like to make over and over?
Yeah, I've got to say it's probably my little boxy dress, which is a free sewing workshop that I made a few years ago, and it's become super popular. More than 3,000 women have made it, and I
Wow.
think and I've made quite a few versions of it, but it's basically a very simple boxy dress that's reversible. So it's got like a V-neck at the front and like a crew neck at the back, and you can switch them around. And it was designed to help people sort of step back into sewing, so just, get their sojo back type of thing. But it's just so amazing. So I've got a Facebook group, and women of all ages, all shapes, all colours have made it, and it's always their own unique version. And it just speaks to the versatility of the pattern. So I've been able to make quite a few versions of it myself by like just making modifications. But also it's because it's not a sort of a strict, like you must do this. It's not like this thing where you have to like read every word in a series of instructions and follow it word for word. So I think it just gives people that sense of freedom and creativity. So for me, that's definitely been my favorite pattern. And from going from what I see in the group and what people send to me by email or Instagram or whatever, lots of women have made multiple versions of this dress. And I really enjoy looking at everyone's unique way of expressing their creativity and their sense of design and sense of style.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love to just seeing how different the same garment, because the pattern is the same,
Yes.
can turn out just by using a different fabric. If you have something that is a little softer drape compared to something that is a stiffer, more structured fabric, just different patterns, like the design,
Yes.
whether it's a print or a solid, can totally change the look and feel of a garment, even though the basic structure is the same. So that's always another thing that's just so cool to see. And then when you put it on a different body, like a different face, a different personality, again, it then can change just so much. So that's really
Mhm.
neat to have, also in the thought of sustainability, patterns. If you have a favorite pattern, to be able to create that garment again, because it's a garment that you're going to wear a lot.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
on the same
absolutely.
token, you can also use the same pattern for it, right? You're cutting down on that imprint.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, I love these tips that you have given us. I just want to kind of close by asking you to share our audience where they can find you and connect with you further.
Okay, so you can get all the slow living and sewing inspiration you need at my blog. It's Sew in Love. That's SEW in love.com.au. And you can also connect with me on Instagram. That's at Sew in Love, so SEWINLOVE. I also have a Facebook group which is full of really, really lovely women who all sort of have that same motivation for sewing. So for them, it's not about, speeding through and making as many things as they can. It's about the process and that ability to do some mindful crafting in their busy day. And people are like super encouraging in there. You can share anything you want, and you can get tips and just connect with people all around the world who totally get why you want to sew. Sometimes I find like people who don't sew are like, why would you sew when you can just buy something? And you know what I mean? So it's just so nice to have, thousands of women in this group who totally get it. They totally get it. So you can join. It's called Sewing and Craft for Slow Living. It's a Facebook group. You can join me in there as well.
That's awesome. And you kind of, since the boxy dress is your favorite pattern, and you do have it for free on your blog, and do you want to just
Yep.
share a little bit about that as yeah, just a free inspiration that anyone watching can just take advantage of, and and get inspiration.
Yeah. So the little boxy dress sewing workshop is not really a pattern. It's more like a series of videos. It's 6 videos. It's a workshop that takes you step by step how to take your body measurements, draft out this simple pattern, cut out your fabric, and I'll take you through each of the sewing steps. It's very beginner friendly. I've had people who are like professional sewing people make this pattern because they just wanted a break from something so serious. I've also had people who've never sewn a garment before make it too. I've had women who don't have a sewing machine just like hand sew it. Amazing. Yeah, so it's just really, really cool. I really recommend you do it because it's such a great way to just get back into sewing, get back into making things. And also you can come and join the Facebook group because there's thousands of women in there who've made it. And if you just search through that group, you'll see all the little boxy dresses and all the different versions. And you get super, super inspired. So, and it could be, I don't know, you might just like end up making lots of them like a lot of women have. So I definitely recommend you go and sign up for that. Once you sign up, you have lifetime access to it anyway. So yeah, go and check it out.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. I'm definitely going to have to check that out myself and take a little time for self-care. And I'm thinking about reworking my wardrobe a little bit and thinking about what pieces are missing. So I think that's going to be one to check out. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was so lovely to connect and just learn a little bit more and inspire more sewing. So yeah, definitely check out her blog and yeah, have a great day and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.
Thank you.